All right, so for the last week in financial algebra, we're just going to be working on some terms and definitions from the IRS website and the internet, and then we're also going to fill out a sample 1040 form. And so I'm going to go through this little PowerPoint made by the Council for Economic Education. So if you're, let's see, I feel like that. Okay, preparing taxes. All right, so here's some personal income facts in the United States. The U.S. tax code contains more than 3.7 million words and is more than 70,000 pages in length. Americans spend 7.6 billion hours every year preparing taxes. It's an average of about 25 hours per person. A lot of people will hire someone to do their taxes for them. So U.S. taxpayers spend over $27 billion every year on tax preparation services, and that averages about $89 per person. That you can have someone in, like a live person, do it for you through an accountant agency, or, there's H&R Block sets up booths inside Walmart and have people fill out your taxes there. There's also lots of things available on the internet for you to be able to fill out your taxes. The Internal Revenue Service, IRS, has a budget of over $11 million, and it employs about 80,000 people. The word tax means I estimate in Latin, so that's where that word comes from. A famous quote from Albert Einstein: the hardest thing in the world to understand is income tax. It is, especially if you try to dive into the tax code at all, it is quite complex. And so how might these facts affect people's understanding of personal income tax and their willingness to pay? A lot of people are intimidated by doing their own taxes. I personally use, Intuit? No, do I use Intuit? TurboTax, whatever that one is, to do my taxes because they do a lot of the work for you. So without those services, I believe paying income taxes would be a lot less effective. Hopefully people understand why we pay taxes. I know there's a lot of, there's some political people out there that want to get rid of income tax, but if you do that, then you get rid of, maintaining your roads, paying for public schools. There's a lot of worthwhile things that your income taxes go to. So I personally, my own belief, I don't mind paying taxes. I like the services the government gives me. All right, so the form that we use is what's called a 1040. Now, the reason I'm not using the textbook to go over filing taxes is because your textbook is old compared to the tax code now. Last year was the first year that the Trump tax cuts were implemented, and when those were implemented, it got rid of your 1040EZ form, which was the form that most teenagers would use when filling out taxes, and it got rid of your 1040A form, which is your short form for people who have deductions and stuff. So it all kind of, instead of having those separate forms, it's all one form now, just called the 1040. So our textbook is out of date. So you don't have to pay taxes for certain situations. Your filing status, let's see, if you're single and under 65, you have to gross at least $12,000 to be able, or to have to file taxes. So if you had only earned less than $12,000 last year, working a summer job, then you don't need to worry about filing your taxes. But if it's over $12,000, then yes, you do. And then those are your other filing statuses, and the minimum amount of income that has to be made to have to file taxes. So employers are required to deduct federal taxes from your income, from your paycheck. Your gross income is the amount of earned income before your deduction, and your net income is the amount of take-home pay that employees take home in that paycheck. The federal income tax is only one example of deductions. You also have state and local taxes that are taken out. If required, Social Security and Medicare is taken out of everybody's paycheck. And then you can have things like retirement contributions, healthcare payments, other tax deferred things can be deducted from your paycheck. So let's see. You get what's called a W-2. Employers are required to get it to you before the end of January every year. And this is going to give you an it's going to give you all of the income that you made for the previous year at that job, plus any deductions, any taxes that were withheld. All of that information is going to be on your W-2. So we use that W-2 to compute the IRS Form 1040. So we use the information on the W-2 to complete our 1040. And it's going to show us whether we paid too much and therefore get a refund, or if we didn't pay enough and therefore owe taxes. The 1040 has to be submitted to the IRS every year by April 15th. This year, it has been postponed until July 15th due to the coronavirus pandemic. So you can go to this website. It's going to give you information on how to read a W-2. In your packet, you got this sample W-2 for a Billy J. Dez. It's got employee social security number up here. Oops. Employer identification, whichever company you work for has its own personal identification number from the IRS. Your information, your work's information. Down here is where they list state and local taxes. Sometimes that can be different. Your employer number down here for the state. Sometimes, like on this example, they have different ID numbers. I know on mine, every year it's the same identification number for the state and local taxes, or state and federal taxes. And then over here is where it lists all of your information. You've got your wages and your tips. Down here is your Social Security wages and your Medicare wages. Remember, Social Security and Medicare is taken out of your entire take-home pay. This up here indicates your take-home pay minus any deductions, like if you have an FSA or if you have retirement deductions done, those are taken out here. And there goes my cat. Sorry about that. And so then over here it shows you how much federal income tax was withheld, how much Social Security tax was withheld, and your Medicare tax withheld. Down in this section is where they list your deductions, usually like retirement and FSA deductions. And those are usually the only sections on a W-2 that I've seen filled out. So we have something between, like I mentioned, taxable wages and Social Security wages. Taxable wages in box 1 do not include deductions. So it doesn't include retirement contributions, health insurance payments, flexible spending accounts, or other miscellaneous payments and contributions. Your Social Security and Medicare wages includes everything with all those deductions that are just left in there. And then here is your sample 1040 form. It gives all the information that you need to fill out. It's pretty self-explanatory if you read through it. The first page is mostly informational. Your name, your deductions, if you have any dependents, if you're married, your address, social security number, all that kind of stuff. It does have a place over here about whether you had health insurance for the entire year, because up until I think it's not required anymore, but there was a mandate that if you, for the Affordable Care Act, that you had to have insurance, and if you didn't, you would get taxed on that. So federal income taxes are deducted from most of your employee gross income each paycheck. Employers are required by law to give you your W-2 by the end of January. Taxpayers can choose to use standard deductions or itemized deductions. Depends on which one gives you the largest reduction in your taxable income. Standard deduction is normally what I use. I don't itemize enough. I don't have enough deductions to make it worthwhile to itemize it. Deadline for filing forms is usually April 15th. This year it is July 15th. Tax forms can be found on the IRS website. They have all the information you could possibly need. Another option is paying someone who specializes in taxes. All right, so what you're going to do for the assignment is you're going to use the given information from Billy Does' W-2 to fill out a 1040 form. Other information that you need to be able to fill out the form, I believe this is on the same sheet as the W-2, but just in case, we need to assume Billy's single, 28 years old, and has no dependents. Billy rents a nice apartment not far from school. Also, Billy's employer provides a qualified retirement plan as well as pays health insurance for all employees. All right, so there you go. There's information for your income tax. Please message me if you have any questions, especially when you're filling out your 1040. And I'll try and help you out as possible. Thank you.